Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It is once again student Rabbi Shmuel Ben Yehoshua Stephen Epstein with this week's discussion on the Torah portion of the week. So hope everybody's doing well. Yom Hashishi Sameach, happy Friday, Shabbat Shalom, happy Saturday, etc. So before we start, I'm going to make good on a promise, a little shout out to all my students, my little lost boys and girls in my class. That would be Marissa and Lily and Alexis. And then there's Ari and Nathan and Zach and Jack and Aaron. So hope you guys are doing great. It's great having you in the class. Some of them have left. You've had your B'nai Mitzvot, but we still see every now and then, so that's great. So this week, again, is a double portion. The first one is Acharei, which is after the death of Nadab and Abihu, which is where the Torah picks up from that unfortunate incident where the two of them had entered into the Holy of Holies. And presumably, as we've gotten more information through the Torah, they've had a little bit of wine, had a little drink. They offered the wrong incense, and now we understand that they went into a place that they shouldn't have been. So what follows on this now is the rules and the discussion for Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. The next portion is Kedoshim, of course, which means holy. Now, in Kedoshim, it would probably take us hours to go through that Torah portion, because out of the 613 commandments that are listed in the Torah, about 1/3 of them are in that particular Parsha alone. So let's pick out a couple of important and two instances, two situations, two topics that really kind of stand out. And let's go to Kedoshim first, okay? So there is a commandment, or a couple of commandments in there, that says, love your neighbor as yourself. Do not take vengeance on anybody. Do not hate your brother or your sister in your heart. And also, if there's somebody on the road that you don't like, whose donkey has got stalled, you get off and you help them with the donkey. The modern day equivalent, of course, is that there's somebody you don't like, you see them at the side of the road, they have a flat tire at the car, what do? You go help them with the flat tire. Whether you like him or not, it doesn't matter. This is what God is commanding you to do. So, for myself, and maybe some of you, this sort of talks about the idea of forgiveness. It talks about the idea that somebody hurts you and you move on, you don't worry about it. And for some of us, myself too, I've kind of struggled with this. How do you forgive somebody that hurts you, that goes out of their way to demean you or lie about you or bully you or whatever? You know, some of us have struggled about this concept of forgiveness, okay? Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Now, some of you know I practice transcendental meditation. I've been doing this for over 40 years. And the person that brought this out into the world, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, used to say that what you focus on in your life grows in your life. So if you hate somebody in your heart, what's going to happen? That quality is going to grow in your life. Now, interestingly enough, or as Maharishi would say, funnily enough, in Judaism, we have the same concept. In Kabbalah, they say that those who focus on evil tend to build that in their life. Those who pursue the path of righteousness are led down that path. If you focus on the hurt, if you focus on the insults that's been done to you, what do you think is going to grow in your life? And again, this is presumably this is easier said than done, right? It takes practice. That's why it is a commandment. That's why we adhere to it every day, okay? There is divine justice. Somebody hurts you, you wonder, why me? How did I deserve it? We could spend days and weeks and years figuring that out, and the punchline is we don't. We just move along, okay? The person who insulted you will get theirs. That's divine justice. All right. We don't relish in it. We don't focus on it. What do we focus on? We focus on doing good. Because as we focus on doing good, good will come to us. We surround ourselves with the good. Even helping somebody that's hurt you. You know, what do they say? They say that, there's no greater power, and I believe this is part of Proverbs, than turning an enemy into a friend. And maybe that's the first step. The more we do it, the more it becomes part of us. Practice makes perfect. So that's sort of the lesson there. Okay. Now, in the portion of Acharei Mot, Okay, Leviticus, we have chapter 18, infamous chapter 18. This is the portion, this is the chapter, the Torah portion that's read on the afternoon of Yom Kippur. And it contains morality. It talks about forbidden sexual and marital relationships. For example, if you're a man, you do not have a relationship with the widow of your father. Okay, you don't have a relationship with a sister, whether it's a blood sister, a half sister, an adopted sister. You just don't do it. You keep those boundaries. But even more important than that, there's that one commandment: man shall not sleep with man. And many through the ages have interpreted this as outlawing homosexuality. Well, back in about 2005, 2006, the Rabbinical Assembly of United Synagogue, now this is the conservative movement, this is the rabbinical governance of conservative Judaism, which is kind of the middle road, right? And they took a look at that because at that point, gay relationships were becoming the topic of the day. They were becoming prominent, and gay people wanted to have a marriage. So somebody who preferred the sexual relationship of a same-sex situation, they wanted to get married, but they also wanted to pursue Judaism. And why would we want to prevent that? Why would we want to get in the way? Well, people cited that commandment: man shall not lay with man. Right? So people who are gay, what did they do? How did they express their Judaism? So the Rabbinical Assembly sat down and they looked at some different, they looked at the Torah. Because in Judaism, we don't look at verses in a vacuum, okay? We have 18 what they call homiletic principles to delve into the Torah. Things like if you have a phrase in one part of the Torah and you have the same phrase in another part of the Torah, well then those two things are connected, okay? We have going from the specific to the general to the specific, from the general to the specific to the general, different things. But we also look, very important, we look at context. This is why, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, life for life. We know not to take it literally because there are other commandments surrounding it that talk about monetary or financial compensation, okay? So, what is the context here, okay? The verse starts out saying, okay, the commandment, if you look at chapter 18. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry, let's get back to the Rabbinical Assembly. They voted, and it was a very slim vote, to allow it. And they looked at things like the commandment we just talked about. Do not hate a neighbor. Do not hate somebody in your heart, okay? Also, love the stranger as yourself because you were once strangers in Egypt, okay? So they looked at all this humanity, all of these commandments to honor people and give people the benefit of the doubt. And they said, how can we hate someone just for their sexual preference, especially if it is an adult consensual relationship, both parties know what they're getting involved in. Wow, who are we to pass judgment? But let's go back to chapter 18. Okay, chapter 18 starts out saying, okay, Hashem talks to Moses and Aaron, and he says, when you go into the land, do not copy the rites and rituals of Egypt, of the pagans, that's my word, that you just left. Well, was there homosexuality in places like Egypt? Well, yes, there was, as well as some of the other ancient pagan societies like Greece and Rome. Were they consensual adult relationships between two adults that felt attracted to the same sex? No. A lot of it was a man, an adult, would be taking advantage of a young boy. All right? That's the type of thing that they're talking about. It says man shall not lay with man. It does not say men shall not lay together as a woman. It says man shall not lay with man. So presumably, a lot of these pagan rituals, for lack of adult males intruding on the sexuality of a young minor who had not achieved sexual maturity yet, this was a common practice. And it was very, very hurtful. It was not a consensual relationship. It was very hurtful, okay? So that's really what it's saying. Think about it, okay? When you go into the land, do not observe the rites and rituals that you just left in Egypt, okay? Back then, there was no type of homosexuality, was there? There was no type of consensual homosexual relationships, okay? So I know that some people are going to have concerns about that. They're going to feel like, well, that's not really what it says, and that's okay, okay? But see, this is how we interpret the Torah. We look at the context. We look at what it's actually saying, okay? So I just wanted to leave that with you for this week. Again, we are on the 23rd day of the Omer. We are still counting the Omer, which we count from the second day of Passover onto Shavuot. We count 49 days. And what is the Omer? An Omer is a unit of measurement. It's the barley. Okay, it was the mincha, the grain offering of the in the temple. It also referred to the harvest. Okay, so we're counting down to Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, which is when Moses came down and gave us the Ten Commandments. So I hope you have a great week. Any questions? Always open. And Shabbat Shalom. And thank you again for listening.